Fear not. Welcome to day 33. Our reading is taken from Job 39 verse 22. He mocketh at fear, and is not affrighted, neither turneth he back from the sword. Patterns for understanding life can always be observed in various aspects of nature. Observation of the ant reveals that as humans we need to be diligent rather than wasteful. Proverbs 6:6-11. In Matthew 6:26-34, our attention is directed by Jesus to birds and flowers, to teach that God provides for all those that need, who seek first his kingdom and righteousness. We see here God using nature's inquisition in a different way with Job. His questions compel Job to look at nature and recognize what or how little he knows. As Job pressured God for an answer, his attitude became sinful as he started viewing his affliction as a travesty by God. God's questioning of Job then was to bring Job to realization of his ignorance and God's omniscience and omnipotence in all affairs of nature and humanity. Job found himself in God's interrogation room. Job 38 verse 3. Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. After facing more than 60 questions on the witness stand from God, and with an inability to respond or provide even an answer, Job is brought to silence. Initially, Job was a great spiritual example as he responded to his losses. But as the months wore on, the afflictions, the disaster started to have its impact and ultimately take its toll. Job 7 verse 2, Job 29 and verse 3. Job was being worn down physically. He was being worn down mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. Though he started out as a strong spiritual example, over time cracks began to appear in his spiritual mindset. So he began to question, to challenge, and wrongfully accuse God of being unjust. Though Job did not now look such a perfect man, as introduced to us in Job 1 and 1, God stood by his character reference of Job to Satan. Hast thou considered my servant Job? Job 1 verse 8. It is impossible to judge the actions of God. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55 verse 8-9. God nurtures, but he limits the waves of the sea. Job 38 verse 11. God checks the power of death by recurring of birth. God feeds the offspring of eagles with the dead flesh of other creatures. Job's insight into nature came through the laws of cause and effect. Job's pain and his losses, his frustration, became in the hand of God a thing of beauty. Job had repeatedly pleaded for a hearing before God and had marshaled his arguments to win a not guilty verdict from the Almighty. Although God did not respond in the way Job thought he would. Our circumstances, or trials, or testings today seem inexplicable. But hear the word from the Lord. Cannot I do with you as this potter? Saith the Lord. Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in mine hand, O house of Israel. Jeremiah 18 and verse 6. Those who mock their fear would not be frightened by it. Join us again tomorrow as we continue in our series, Fear Not. God bless you.